Natan for setting the stage for today. I'm Jillian Catronbone. I'm the COO here at Tulip, and I will be today's main stage MC. So we're gonna get right into it. I'm really happy to introduce Mason Glidden, who's Tulip's Chief Product and Engineering Officer, and he's going to give a special preview into our product roadmap and upcoming launches. So Mason, come on up.
Thanks, Jill. It's great to be back at Ops Calling. This is such a fun event we do every year. So from Natan, you heard about how the world is still continuously changing faster than ever. And we know that's not going to stop. My job here today is to walk you through the things we've been building and launching this year and show you how to use them to tackle your next challenge or to build your next production system. I'm going to run through a bunch of demos, and every single one of these is available for use and trial out in our Passport and Tech, and launching either now or by the end of the year. I'm really excited to show you all of this. Now, at Tulip, it's been a pretty rapid year of change for us as well. We've seen incredible growth and usage all around the world with Tulip. September alone, we saw more than 71 million automation tasks, which was crazy. Tulip has been deployed on tens of thousands of stations and interfaces around the world. But my favorite stat here is the one on the bottom right. In the past 12 months, 9,269 of you built an app with Tulip. Use Tulip to solve a problem in your operations on your shop floor. And as this growth has continued, something interesting has started to happen. It's not just been more and more deployments, but new types of problems. You all have taken Tulip into new spaces in your business, like warehouses and labs and your supply chains. You've deployed Tulip on new interfaces, like HMIs. And as you've used Tulip to solve new challenges, Tulip and deployment and complexity in your production system has also grown. Compared to 2024, the average app today has 20% more triggers than it used to. It was with this background and context that went into our first launch here today, Functions. Think of Functions as a new composable block. You can go in and define one piece of logic centrally and then reuse it throughout all of your applications. We built this in partnership with with a luxury goods manufacturer. They have one center of excellence team. It's fairly small and centralized in one location, but they've deployed Tulip internationally, across a ton of distributed facilities. They wrote a really complex ERP integration. It's 5 or 6 different triggers that send something to the ERP, get it back, validate something, back and forth. And that same logic has to be copied between 30 or 40 different apps and maintained across all of those. Functions is going to make managing this a breeze. Let me show you how it works. So here I have a Tulip application. I grabbed this off of the library. It's part of our CMES app suite. This is the order execution app. And on the confirm completion step, I've gone in and added some extra logic to do some validation. So here on the right, I have 5 triggers. I'm pulling something from the ERP, I'm validating different fields, and then if there's something wrong, I'm notifying the admin at the end. It's fairly complex and something we see pretty typical as you deal with more complex integrations like an ERP. Now, I've gone ahead and made this into a function. I'm going to switch over here. Functions uses the same automations editor they are already familiar with. So for handling more complex logic, things like loops or nested conditionals are much easier to do in automations and really simplifies that logic. We have our condition here, it's looping through the fields to validate, and at the bottom, it's hitting a connector to notify the admin if needed. To bring this into the app is super simple. All I have to do, I have another step here I made a copy of. Instead of those 5 triggers, I just have one. That one trigger just does one thing, calls run function. This is now centralized, managed, maintained, much easier to deploy and scale across many facilities. Earlier this year, we launched app diagrams to show you sort of visually the flow and logic in your application. And of course, functions are coming to that as well, so you can see functions on your app diagram and see how they're being used in your applications. So that's Functions. It's in early access now and general availability soon. Now, for those of you that know me, you might be a little surprised that I managed to make it this far into the presentation without saying the magic word, AI. I think we can all admit it's been a pretty buzzy and hype-filled couple of years around AI since LLMs have sort of entered the scene. And at the same time, I don't think it's controversial to say that it hasn't lived up to that hype, especially in operations, especially on your shop floors. I think it's time for that to change. Let me show you how. First up here, I have AI Composer. AI Composer lets you take a PDF-based SOP and transform it into an app in minutes. We are working here specifically thinking about work instruction style SOPs. Some of our customers have thousands of these. As they think about how to accelerate their transformation and their journey with Tulip, we want to get them started and going immediately and be able to get something going day one. So let me jump in and show you how it works. I'm going to navigate to my Tulip instance and go to create a new app. There's a new option here on the top right for AI Composer. I can open it up, and I'm going to go ahead and upload a PDF. I have my PDF here. Let's get this running. It takes about 45 seconds to run. For context, it's about 6-8 pages. The PDF looks like this. I'm sure many of you are familiar with documents like this and have many of them in your own operations. There's a mix of images and text. I think here you're supposed to print it out and confirm that you've checked this box. Pretty typical style of work instruction-based documentation. Now, we've gone ahead and taken this, ingested it, and used the AI to understand the content from this. We don't want to just make paper on glass. We don't want to end up with something that looks exactly like this. That's not how an app should look. So we go through and pull it here into what we call the Tulip blueprint. This gives us an intermediary form to be able to show the representation, the information we're pulling off of it, and give a chance for the human to do their work. All right? AI is not fully ready to do everything, no matter what you might read on LinkedIn. We want to put the human back in control here and give them a chance to make edits, changes, tweaks before going ahead and hitting commit and turning it into an application. So I can see the text that's pulled from the PDF and on the right where that's coming from. I can edit my images. You can see the input that it extracted here for me. Basically how it's going to turn that SOP into an application for me. Now, as we started to deploy this, we saw some great results from early adopters of it. But there's not always a good SOP, right? Maybe it's a rarely run maintenance procedure that never was formally documented. Maybe there was a great documentation when the line started, but that was 10 years ago, and since then you've added 2 new stages, a couple new SKUs, and the SOP no longer reflects what's actually happening on the shop floor. So we wanted to take that real source of truth, what's happening day to day, and be able to ingest it into Tulip. There's no greater way to capture that context and what's happening than with your phone, by going down and recording a video of what's actually happening on the shop floor. So today I'm excited to announce AI Composer for video. Here I have a little sample video. This is a valve assembly. It's about 5 minutes long. You can't hear it, but there's some narration as the user is going through and talking about the steps he's doing along the way, putting it together, etc. Pretty rough filming, right? We're going to go ahead and upload this into Composer, and immediately we can bring it into that same Tulip blueprint format. So I have all of my keyframes here that it's extracted from the video. I can see where in the video those are all coming from. The AI has been able to generate text that gives us captions for each stage in the video and take this random 5-minute video and turn it immediately into a Tulip application. This is super fun to play with. We have a demo set up outside where you can record an assembly process on a little machine we have and then turn it into an app immediately. It's really cool. I highly suggest you go check it out. So that's AI Composer and AI Composer for video, which will be launching later this year. Now, before I continue, let me go back a little bit. I mentioned earlier the hype's only been increasing. And there are some new technical changes and innovation that sort of back this. In the past year, we've seen 2 key developments that change how we think about AI in operations. The first was November last year, when MCP was launched by Anthropic. Now, MCP, for those of you who aren't familiar, stands for Model Context Protocol. Think of it as like an API for your LLM, right? LLMs are hard, they're complex to train, they take 12 to 24 months. By the time you get it, it's already out of date, and it doesn't have your information in it. MCPs give a standardized way for that LLM to go talk to another system, to pull more information in, or to take an action in that other system. This enabled a whole bunch of really interesting integrations with LLMs, and it's been an explosion over the past year. The second thing that happened was Claude 3.7 in February 2025. This was really a seminal moment in LLMs, and a pretty big step function change in their capabilities. And it pushed LLMs past the point where, okay, great, it can generate a bunch of text for me, but now they can start to take actions and can run autonomously for a little bit longer than they could before in a way that suddenly was really valuable. Now, we immediately got to work here, and earlier this year, we launched our own MCP to be able to use Tulip directly in your LLM. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to switch actually here out of my browser into my Claude application. So this is from Anthropic. It's just basically chat backed by Claude, in this case, a slightly newer model. Up top, I asked it a question. I have these tables in my Tulip instance. Can you create and add some sample records to them? And I went ahead and added a little picture screenshot that I just took of my data model in Draw.io, I think, some diagramming tool. Now, when I went to ask this, I also enabled the Tulip MCP. You can see here that's enabled. We have 5 tools, and I gave it access to a couple different capabilities. I wanted to be able to get tables. I wanted to be able to create records and do a couple other things. And I asked it to do, you can see it calls the Tulip API through list tables here, gets the table response, and then it's going through and generating all of my records for me. Now, we thought this was super cool. And the early adopter use cases were really impressive. It actually blew us away, the number of things that people were immediately doing with MCP, and even more powerful than we expected it to be. But it was also pretty hard to set up. You have to manage it yourself. You have to have a way to work with it. We wanted to make it more powerful and more usable at the same time. So earlier this year, we put a team to work on our new launch that I'm super excited to tell you all about today, Tulip Agents. This is really cool. So agents are going to change all parts of your production system and all parts of your app lifecycle. We have agents here to help with building Tulip apps and capturing best practices and turning those into guidance for all of the citizen developers spread out around the world. We have agents to help with validation and creating test plans for you to understand and prove that your apps work as you go through a regulated process. We have agents that work on your shop floor and help with things like shift summarization and reports to go between shifts and summarize what happened during the day. And then to close the loop, agents to help with rework and suggestions on how to continuously transform and improve. Now, at Tulip, we know that there's no such thing as one size fits all in operations. You need tools that adapt to you, not force you to adapt to the tool. This was the original insight behind why we built the Tulip App Editor. And that holds true for agents as well. We're also launching today the Tulip Agent Builder, so you can go in and build your own agents and run them right inside of Tulip. Yesterday, we hosted a hackathon here on site for a small group of Tulip users to get them using the Agent Builder. We gave them a little bit of training in the morning, and then they had an open session in the afternoon to build. This group of 15 people built about 25 agents over 3 hours. It was really cool to see all the use cases they were coming up with and all the ideas they had for how they could change their day-to-day operations with this. Let's dive in. So I'm going to navigate to my Tulip instance, and there's a new option here at the top for Tulip AI. I'm in here in the chat where I have selected my validation guide generator. I'm going to ask it my little sample prompt here. Ask it my sample prompt, and it's off to the races. Now, this is going to take a minute to run, so I'm going to do what I usually do actually when I'm working with agents and kick off a couple things in parallel. Let me switch to my other tab here, and I'm going to run a machine traceability agent. Ask it my little question. Let's go back and check out what's happening with our validation guide. So each of these little blocks here, list apps, get app details, get step tree, think of that as an MCP tool call. It's a capability that the agent has, and it's calling out to it because it thinks it's the best next step to do. Along the way, as it's pulling in more information, it's deciding what the next thing it should do is. This is a slightly different way of thinking about something like this. You're not writing a procedure and say, do A, B, C. You're saying, hey, I need to solve a problem. I need to help making a test plan for this application. Here's what a good test plan looks like. And then it's going to go through and interact with Tulip, pull information in, and help me generate my risk assessment plan here as a CSV so I can go copy it to the world's favorite tool, Excel, and manage my validation test plan there. Let's take a look at how the machine traceability agent is doing. So it's going through, it's pulling a bunch of information from tables, and actually it's doing something interesting right now here at the bottom. See how it's saying, let's get vendor details. That's calling a system outside of Tulip. That's actually calling to SAP right there to go pull information about the vendor that it found information in the Tulip table. So we've attached connectors to Tulip Agents as well. So in your whole ecosystem of work, you can pull all of that relevant data straight into Tulip and use it as part of your agents. Now here it's gotten all of the information it needs, and so it's printing out the traceability report for us, summarizing all of the issues it found, and it's going to flag a couple things that we should follow up with our vendors because it was able to connect the dots between what it found in the production output and what it pulled from SAP, and in this case, Salesforce as well, actually. So let's dive in and look at the actual agent builder that we have here. We'll go ahead and look up the machine traceability agent. It's pretty simple, right? Natan talked about English as the next programming language. This is what we're talking about. You can use English to program your agent. Up top here, we have a goal. We've given it a personality. What are you? How should you try to respond to this? Someone yesterday put in the goal side, I want you to be snarky. And all of its responses were tinged like that. It was pretty funny to see. And then down here, I've given it instructions. What tables should it be looking at? What types of things should it be trying to investigate, right? This is an agent that is customized to my specific production system, that knows about the context that is relevant to me and helps me do my job, not what someone else thought an agent should do for me. Down below are all of the tools and capabilities, basically those MCPs that I've given it access to. Primarily on this one, it has access to data. I've told it, hey, you can list tables, you can create tables, etc. But maybe we actually don't want it to create tables. Let's turn those off so that it's a read-only agent. It's only going to be consuming information. It can't do anything else. Agents comes with a full permissioning system, so you can manage and govern this just like you would anything else in Tulip. We also have right here connectors. So you can see we've given it access to SAP and Salesforce. But under SAP, we've only given it access to one function. We don't want it to have full sale access. It's only able to call this one thing, so it can go look up information that it finds in the tables. And then we can run this, see who else has run it, see what success people had with it as we learn and start to deploy with these. Now, as we're building agents, we started with this general purpose chat interface showing up in the admin side of Tulip. We're also going to be bringing it into automations. So over here, I have an automation. This one's attached to our UNS. It's firing whenever a machine attribute is changing. Specifically in this case, it's a scale. And you can see here, it starts by saying, hey, was the result in spec? We think this is the future of a lot of this style of automation. You want to bring in the best of deterministic logic, right? Was the value between this range? If not, hey, I'm going to pass it over to some non-deterministic logic that can go start doing the investigation for me. And so down here, it's going into the quality agent. We've picked an agent that we made in the agent builder and put it in here, and then said, hey, here's the input you need. Here's the relevant context from this automation that we want to pass into the agent in order to do your job. And then it's taking the output and storing it in another table for later review. So this is a great use case for, hey, I'm going to generate things, start flagging things. Investigate. If I find something weird, I'm going to put it in this table, and then a human can go in and look and understand. And, oh, hey, that one's a false positive. We don't need to care about that one. But hey, that's a real issue. Let's go do something about it and fix it. So that's agents. I'm super excited to get this into all of your hands this winter. I think it's going to be have a huge impact and allow you to do a lot of cool new things. Now, let's recap. We've covered a lot of ground today. We started with functions and how that's going to change the way you maintain and scale your logic within Tulip. We talked about Composer and how you can use it to accelerate your transformation, and Video Composer as well on top of that. Then we talked about MCPs and agents and the ways that those are going to change your production systems and change the way you think about the problems tomorrow. Now, before we wrap, I have one more thing. As the world continues to change, as you tackle more and more challenges and problems, global visibility can be really tricky. You heard about this from Natan. It's hard to understand what's happening around the world on a huge production system. And so today, I'm excited to announce Tulip's newest product, OpsMoto. OpsMoto is a global enterprise-level dashboard that gives you visibility into your operations around the world and uses AI to help you uncover insights that would otherwise be lost. Let's see how it works. So I'm here on my OpsMoto demo instance. This data is all mocked, but it's based around what we typically see from large, discrete manufacturers. Distributed around the world, many facilities, many different value streams and use cases, generally managed with a small center of excellence team. Here I have all of my top-level metadata, right? How many interfaces do I have? How many users? How many apps are being run? As well as breakdown instance by instance, where I can see exactly what's happening on a slightly more granular level. I can go ahead here and click into apps, and from that, see all of the top apps across all of my instances. Over here on the right, I have an auto-generated summary giving me some info about what's actually happening in that app, metadata about it, as well as the full history of who's edited it or changed it or published it when. And of course, I can go and click View, pop into that instance, and see the application for myself. On automations, we show you the sort of full history of how many automations you've been running across all of your instances as you try to find new use cases and also solve problems with it. We can see here on this instance, the max number of automation tasks run is down a little bit. Maybe that's something we should go investigate, try to understand what's driving that change in behavior. And then lastly, up top here, we have app trends. This is really cool. We've gone through and used AI to help understand applications. So here I have, obviously, my total count, my completions, the hours that these apps have been running. But we also have an AI-driven use case analysis. We went really granular here. We tried to dig up every use case that we found people doing with Tulip and built a classifier to help classify your apps by these different use cases. So we can see here at the top, this little gray section has grown a lot in the last couple months. That's inventory management. Probably reflects a new app that we deployed that's gaining traction and providing a lot of new value for us on the shop floor. We can also slice this by instance. So I can very quickly visually see that, hey, we clearly use a lot of equipment maintenance apps around all of our facilities. Very common use case. We've successfully deployed it. Pretty much everyone is already using that. But there's some weird hotspots. What's up with this facility? Why doesn't it have these use cases yet? Over here, this site has a lot of line clearance apps. Maybe there's something we can pull from that instance. Maybe they found a great new application that someone at that site built, and we can go take that, standardize it, and then distribute it to the rest of our facilities to scale out that value and ROI to everybody. That's a story we hear time and time again. Some smart manufacturing engineer at some facility has built a great app. How do we find it, learn from it, and share that learning out to everybody else? We think OpsMoto is really going to change the way you think about enterprise-wide visibility and give you a new level of insight into your operations. OpsMoto is already in beta right now and will roll out to all customers by the end of the year. We're really excited to put it all in all of your hands. So we covered a lot. I encourage you to go all out and try it. We have all of this available for demo today. Please let me know if you get a chance to try it. We'd love to hear what you think. And can't wait to welcome you all back at Ops Calling 2026 to hear about the challenges and problems that you've solved with all of these tools. Thank you.